Hello everyone, welcome to today's forum. In response to the International Month of Peace and Love, how long do we have to wait for justice? A girl can become a mom in 25 years, and the sea can grow into a tree in 25 years. Can you believe that Tai Ji Men, a spiritual group in Taiwan, has been persecuted by national violence for 25 years? On July 13, 2007, the Supreme Court found Tai Ji Men not guilty of fraud, tax evasion, or violation of tax codes. Yet, the Taxation Bureau continues to issue unjustified tax bills to Tai Ji Men, and later even transferred the case to the Administrative Enforcement Agency. As a result, Tai Ji Men's Shifu and Dizi have been dedicated to taxpayers' human rights for years, and called upon the government officials to correct the mistakes and do the right things. This year marks the 20th anniversary of 9/11 terrorist attack, and it reminds us the importance of love, peace, and human rights. In today's forum, we invite 3 speakers from different fields to share their stories and opinions with us. And first, let's start with the video about Tai Ji Men case.
Can you force auctions, issue unlawful tax bills just for job performance?
Face the people! Revolt number 5 days! Not guilty! No tax evasion!
In July 2007, the Supreme Court found Tai Ji Men not guilty and no tax evasion.
I can hardly breathe!
Stop the execution!
In 2009, the defendants received national compensation for wrongful detention.
Illegal execution!
The Tai Ji Men tax case originated from the criminal prosecution. The tax bills should be revoked as per not guilty ruling from the criminal court.
The Tai Ji Men tax case is a fabricated case. Since its founding in 1966, Tai Ji Men has been tax exempt. Why was it taxed for the 6 years? That was a result of prosecutor Quan Renho's unlawful prosecution. The National Taxation Bureau issued tax bills based on the prosecutor's illegal indictment without conducting any investigation. So tax bills were issued for the 6 years listed in the indictment. However, both the Supreme Court and Supreme Administrative Court ruled in favor of Tai Ji Men, stating that Tai Ji Men is not a cram school and that the red envelopes from Diji to their shifu were gifts, not tuition. Therefore, Tai Ji Men is tax exempt.
The criminal court made a final not guilty decision. That is, their indictment was totally untrue. That is, they failed to put forth evidence. Tax bills issued without any evidence to justify them, of course, are invalid. They should automatically resolve the case.
However, all of the illegal tax bills for the 6 years based on the false indictment have not been revoked. The Hsinchu branch of the Administrative Enforcement Agency will enforce auctions against Tai Ji Men's property in the Miaoli Mountain area on July 31st.
How can you execute an incorrect judgment? It's like you clearly know a person is wrongly convicted and sentenced to death, and yet you still proceed to execute the person. It's wrong if the government does nothing to correct the mistake. Even more wrong if the government proceeds to execute the person.
We still want to emphasize that Tai Ji Men indeed is not a cram school.
In 1997, the Ministry of Education stated Tai Ji Men is not a cram school. In 2010, during a public hearing, the Ministry of Education again clarified that Tai Ji Men indeed is not a cram school. In 2007, the Supreme Court confirmed Tai Ji Men was not guilty of tax evasion. In its re-examination decisions in 2012 and 2013, the Ministry of Finance also admitted Tai Ji Men is not a cram school. In fact, in 2018, the Supreme Administrative Court ruled in favor of Tai Ji Men again, stating that Tai Ji Men is a manpai of Qigong, martial arts, and self-cultivation, not a cram school. As a result, the National Taxation Bureau corrected the tax amount to 0 for 1991 and 1993 to 1996, except for the year 1992. Tai Ji Men was still taxed as a cram school for 1992 on the ground that a final decision on the case was made in 2006. However, the Supreme Court didn't make a decision on the Tai Ji Men criminal case until 2007. How could the Administrative Court make a decision, an incorrect one, before that?
They made a wrong finding of fact. They treated Tai Ji Men as a cram school and taxed Tai Ji Men as one. Since the finding of fact was made on the wrong basis, the laws applied were also wrong, and the court ruling was also incorrect.
Corrupt officials, lock them up!
There is another major violation of due process in the 1992 tax case, contributing to Tai Ji Men's losing the case. The case was handled by the same judge, Shu Ling Huang, in the first and second trials, and even in the request for a retrial. This violated recusal doctrine.
Judge Shu Ling Huang was assigned the Tai Ji Men case in Taichung High Administrative Court and proceeded to conduct investigations. Afterwards, she moved on to the Supreme Administrative Court and heard the Tai Ji Men case. Tai Ji Men should at least have the opportunity to request her recusal. Was it impossible to make such a request? Totally impossible. Why? Because the Supreme Court and the Supreme Administrative Court don't hold court hearings. It was a written secret trial, so the case was handled by the same group of judges, running around in circles.
Recusal is required for relief procedures. How could it be fair when the same judge handled the case in two levels of courts? Tell me, how could it be fair?
Besides violating recusal doctrine, seriously violating Tai Ji Men's litigation rights, the National Taxation Bureau was even suspected of concealing evidence during the administrative hearing process. That's outrageous.
They sent survey forms to Tai Ji Men弟子 they randomly picked and asked them about the nature of red envelopes. They collected 206 survey forms. All of them stated the red envelopes were gifts. However, the NTB of Taipei determined only 9 of them were gifts. The NTB of Central Area recognized only 5 were gifts. Later, when the control yuan investigated the case, the NTB of Taipei stated all were tuition fees.
That's outrageous.
These all say gifts. Gifts in nature. The others all say gifts too.
The National Taxation Bureau's lie about the case was exposed on June 17, 2010. At the public hearing in the Legislative Yuan, Tai Ji Men弟子 showed their survey forms, testifying all of the red envelopes were gifts, debunking the false claim of the Ministry of Finance and the National Taxation Bureau.
And now everyone is here, and all the information and evidence is here. It's spread out all over the floor, and you clearly know that you are in the wrong. What you've said in the past is questionable. But you want to continue to make the same mistake? That's bad. We request that the Ministry of Finance conclude this case in 2 months. Exactly what to do, and what are you going to do? Don't delay anymore.
Let the NTB of the Central Area submit the report to the Ministry of Finance. It's the NTB of the Central Area. It's not good to let them take full responsibilities. Just report to the Ministry. This is all I will say. Okay, we'll do as the Deputy Minister says. We'll send our official report to the Ministry of Finance. Just now we said to dismiss, to revoke. Revoke it? Okay, the Taxation Bureau of the Central Area will report to the Ministry of Finance.
1 month later, the Ministry of Finance sent letters to legislator Qiu Jingtian, Xing Zhetu, and Justin Chao, saying it had demanded the National Taxation Bureau of the Central Area to revoke the execution pursuant to Article 40 of the Tax Collection Act. 4 days later, the National Taxation Bureau of the Central Area in turn sent a letter to the Hsinchu branch of the Administrative Enforcement Agency requesting it to stop the execution pursuant to Clause 3 of Article 9 of the Administrative Enforcement Law. Yet, as of today, the Hsinchu branch still hasn't stopped the execution. Obviously, there are significant problems with the tax bills. Why are they so reluctant to stop the enforcement? Is there any secret behind this?
Why are these illegitimate tax bills issued again and again? Why haven't they been revoked? One of the most important reasons, as we mentioned, could be the so-called bonus that tax officers receive for collecting taxes.
In 2011, I told the finance minister that this case should be closed. But he didn't attempt to resolve the matter the way he would with his own business. After all, he already got his bonus, and the tax is imposed on someone else anyway.
On March 15th, 2019, they announced the list of recommended reward recipients. That was for the Tai Ji Men tax case. March 5th, 2020. That was in 2019. Now it's 2020. Every year, they talk about how to split the money. They still remember it 1 year later. Performance bonus will be split in 2. Each gets a half.
You are my eyes, you are my eyes, you are my eyes. All of you are my eyes. Why? Go check it out to see if there's anyone evading taxes. There is a reward up to 4.8 million Taiwanese dollars.
Another 10 years have passed since the Ministry of Finance and the National Taxation Bureau publicly promised to resolve the Tai Ji Men case within 2 months.
Revoke them immediately!
Tai Ji Men has been persecuted by the authorities through unlawful taxation for 24 years. The Supreme Court found Tai Ji Men not guilty of tax evasion or violation of tax codes. The defendants received national compensation for unlawful imprisonment. The Tai Ji Men case was listed by the Control Yuan as a landmark case of human rights violations. But ironically, Tai Ji Men's land was illegally auctioned by the enforcement agency on the eve of the establishment of the National Human Rights Commission under the Control Yuan on August 1st. While the Tsai administration claims to uphold human rights, promote transitional justice, and implement judicial reform, will it truly have the courage to end this ongoing false and unjust case spanning 4 presidencies? Will the government return justice to Tai Ji Men, or will it let this ridiculous farce full of officials breaking the law and covering up for one another tarnish Taiwan's human rights protection and make Taiwan an international laughing stock?
Revoke illegal auction!
In the video, the human rights have been seriously violated, and they are desperate for justice. Though they've done a lot, the government still do not hear. It's really sad to hear that. Next up, I would like to invite Christina, a human resources agent, to share more details and stories with us.
Hello everyone, my name is Christina. 9 years ago, when I was in a deep depression and my life was just a mess, I joined Tai Ji Men through serendipity. With the practice of Qigong and the wisdom of yin and yang that my Shifu Dr. teaches me, I obtained physical and mental balance and regained family harmony. In order to thank Shifu, I followed the ancient Chinese ceremony to give so-called red envelopes to Shifu as a symbol of respect and gratefulness. However, my red envelope was turned into the excuse by the National Tax Bureau to frame my Shifu. In 1996, Taiwan prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren illegally prosecuted my Shifu, Zhang Men of Tai Ji Men, of raising goblins, tax evasion with perjury, and fabricated evidences. Kenneth Jacobson, professor of law at Temple University in Philadelphia, pointed out that it is not due process to accuse a human being in a civilized society of raising goblins. In 2007, Taiwan Supreme Court found Tai Ji Men not guilty of tax evasion or any other charges. In 2010, the National Tax Bureau and the Ministry of Finance promised to revoke the tax bill. In 2020, the Administrative Enforcement Agency illegally auctioned off the sacred land of Tai Ji Men. The land was illegally taken into state ownership. The Tax Bureau and the Administrative Enforcement Agency, they totally ignored the verdict of Supreme Court, ignored international conventions, ignored the Constitution. This incident of human rights violation and religious harassment, in which people did not owe taxes, but the land was forcibly auctioned and nationalized by government, has attracted the attention of international communities. Ari Ross, chairman of the European Inter-Religious Forum for Religious Freedom, indicated, when justice occurs in a place that is supposed to be one of the good places of the world, the effects may be worse than when it occurs in an already totalitarian country. The reason why they are issuing fake tax bills is that the Tax Bureau and the Administrative Enforcement Agency, they have high bonuses for billing and execution. Fake tax bills turn into real fraudulent. They lost their conscience for the bonus. In 2014, in order to arouse the conscience of the world, Dr. Hong launched the Era of Conscience movement. Dr. Hong and Tai Ji Men Dizi have traveled across 5 continents and 101 countries at our own expense since 1999 to promote the belief in love and peace, and even taxpayers' human rights. The public interest group that advocates conscience and kindness has spent more than 25 years in bloodless revolution, spending far more than the amount of fake tax bills. This is not a question of money, but a question of right or wrong, a question of human rights, justice, and freedom of religious belief. Someone once said, lies run sprints, but the truth runs marathons. I strongly believe that the truth will win this marathon eventually. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, for sharing these stories with us. It is unbelievable that such a tragedy happens in Taiwan, a democratic country with rule of law. Next up, Joyce would like to share her stories.
Hello, everyone. Today my topic is the most bitter winter and summer I have ever experienced. I have 3 beloved families. One is the family where my dear parents raised me up with so much love. Another is the small and sweet family my husband and I built. The other one is the energy family, Tai Ji Men, where my Shifu told me wisdom to fulfill the meaning of my life. Therefore, I always feel that I'm the most fortunate person in the world. And I love my motherland, Taiwan, too. After traveling to more than 15 countries, I still think that Taiwan is the most beautiful and friendly place in the world. However, on December 19, 1996, an evil thing happened in Taiwan and turned my world upside down. The prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren led a group of police, invited lots of media, and conducted an illegal investigation in violation of the Constitution and the international human rights covenants. He took away Shifu without any evidence to charge him. I still remember that night in the dark, bitter winter. Some brothers and sisters still stay in the academy waiting for Shifu to come back. But we waited and waited, only to hear about more fake news and more bad news. Some friends and relatives were misled by what the prosecutor Ho said on TV, and even tried to stop us from going to Tai Ji Men. After 4 months investigation, the prosecutor found no proof to charge Shifu, so he falsely prosecuted Shifu for raising goblins. That was really ridiculous. Professor Kenneth Jacobson, practice professor of law at Temple University, said that it was not due process to accuse a human being in a civilized society of raising goblins. The mere statement of that would cause individuals and should cause individuals to question the sanity of the prosecutor. After 10 years and 7 months, on July 13, 2007, the highest jurisdictions in Taiwan concluded that Tai Ji Men was innocent of all charges and that there had been no tax evasion. Besides, in 2009, all innocent defendants received national compensation for wrongful detention. The illegal tax bills based on the false indictment should have been cancelled in accordance with the law. However, Taiwan's National Taxation Bureau has maintained its illegal tax bill for 1 year, 1992, and based on this, in 2020, has seized and auctioned properties of Tai Ji Men. The ECOSOC accredited NGO CAP LC filed a written submission for the 48th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council. The document is published on the website of the United Nations. CAP LC observed that religion and spirituality live in the hearts of the believers, but they create communities. Taking their spaces away from spiritual movements means cutting their deepest roots. Therefore, the National Taxation Bureau It's cutting our deepest roots, and that really hurts. Last August, when the Hsinchu branch of the Administration Executive Department auctioned off our sacred land for self-cultivation in Miaoli, we went there to protest. Under the torching sun, we could not tell whether the water drops on our faces are tears or sweat. As a teacher, I teach my students not to lie in tests, homework, and everyday life. The few financial officials' misconduct sets a terrible example and makes it hard for the teachers to teach the next generation how to tell right from wrong. The impact is far-reaching and will definitely influence the future of everyone. What is wrong should be corrected right away. Otherwise, the same mistakes will be made again and again. It's time to repent and revoke the false tax bill before failing our future.
Thank you, Joyce. It's sad to see that people have to work that hard to strive for basic human rights. Hope the government can hear their voice and bring them justice. And then, I would like to introduce the third speakers to you. Sherry is a research assistant. Welcome.
Everyone, my name is Sherry. First of all, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to join this forum. It is my honor. I'm currently working in a university as a research assistant. I'm also a Tai Ji Men 弟子. I'm glad that I joined Tai Ji Men Qigong Academy 18 years ago. It was the year 2003 that I was heading to Muon and preparing to study for my master's degree in United States. However, my mother was concerned and worried about my asthma situation and some medicine allergy problem, so she encouraged me to practice Qigong, to exercise and better my health. Ever since then, Tai Ji Men has turned into my second home. I really appreciate my Shifu Dr. Hong that I can nourish my inner and physical health here by practicing Qigong and learn much more about life wisdom from Shifu. Tai Ji Men Qigong Academy is a non-profit organization established in 1966 and is a menpai similar to a school of Qigong, self-cultivation, and martial arts rooted in Taoism. Yet Tai Ji Men has been involved in a false tax case that lasted for 25 years, which has not been solved till this day. Taiwan is recognized as a democratic country, so a lot of people find it shocking and cannot believe this is happening in Taiwan. Tai Ji Men's case was falsely started in 1996 when Taiwan's government launched a political purge against a number of spiritual groups. Prosecutor Ho Kuan-ren of the Taipei District Prosecutor's Office could not find any criminal evidence, so he asked a tax officer from the National Taxation Bureau, abbreviated as NTB, to give a false statement which falsely claimed that Tai Ji Men was suspected of evading tax. National Tax Bureau officers never visited Tai Ji Men to investigate. They issued unjustified tax and heavy penalties for the years 1991 to 1996 without any legal basis. In 2007, the Criminal Division of the Supreme Court found Tai Ji Men not guilty of fraud, tax evasion, or violation of tax codes, and confirmed that since the monetary gifts in the form of red envelopes offered by the Dizi to their Shifu were indeed gifts, they were tax-free income under Article 4, subparagraph 17 of the Income Tax Act. Those earlier falsely detained Tai Ji Men Dizi and Zhang Menren were ruled to be compensated by the nation. Yet to this day, the Tax Bureau keeps sending Tai Ji Men the same tax bill over and over again, and even transferred the case to the Administrative Enforcement Agency for illegal seizure and auction of Tai Ji Men's land and property in 2020. Dear friends, people who are now watching this forum, I believe you have already seen tons of news reports, articles, videos about unfair Tai Ji Men's tax case on the internet or on newspapers. There has a great amount of information about Tai Ji Men's case on the internet. If you want to learn more details about the case, you can easily search or Google it on the Action Alliance to Redress 1219, which is act1219.org, or fightforfair.tax. These two websites to search. Now, I would like to point out a fact here, which is extremely important to our human rights, a very basic understanding of law. I think we all will come to agree when the Supreme Court made its judgment that Tai Ji Men won the lawsuit. The entire unfair tax case should be closed and finished, and everything should go back to the right track. However, the National Tax Bureau think the judgment from the court doesn't count at all. The NTB officers even bluntly said the judgment made by the Supreme Court doesn't count in front of faces of those news reporters during media press interview. This is truly incredible nonsense. If the judgment made by the court doesn't count at all, then whose decision can be followed? Who have the final word? I can't help wondering how we can give our children or students the correct basic law principles to follow, since the governmental officers can twist the meaning of law easy and irresponsible. Those arrogant National Tax Bureau officers despise the law and violate the human rights. No wonder the government can over-excess tax every year and cause Taiwan's millions of people suffered and were persecuted from the illegal tax bill. Taiwan is a well-known democratic country and is proclaimed as the Asian beacon of democracy. But pathetically and ironically, Tai Ji Men has been fighting for 25 years and still seeking for justice to be prevailed. President of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, had promised to implement the transition justice when elected. The Executive Yuan set up the Transitional Justice Commission in the year 2018. The whole nation contains grateful of expectation to it. I hereby call upon President of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen. The transitional justice is definitely not a slogan. Please do not bounce your check to your people. President Tsai should not renege on your campaign promises. The whole nation is watching. The illegal tax persecution from Taiwan National Tax Bureau must be stopped and terminated. Fixing and solving the Tai Ji Men's case will be the best model of transition justice. Wishing the fair, tax righteous, and justified judicial system can be fully implemented and accomplished.
Thank you, Sherry, and those who fight for the human rights. Only when we persist and tell the truth will there be fairness and justice in our world. Thank all the three speakers for sharing their stories with us. Hope their voice can be heard and encourage more people to stand up for our welfare. Though the tragedy happens, Tai Ji Men still goes around the world to spread the seeds of love and peace to people. So far, Tai Ji Men's Shifu has led Dizi to go to 101 countries to promote love and peace, and then also bring the bill of world peace and love to make the reign of the bill comfort everyone. No matter what happens to us, we can still have kindness and love in our hearts. A little bit more love and conscience can make the world better, and it needs all human beings' contributions. This is the end of this forum. Thanks for your attention. May our world be better than yesterday.
下台！
About the Tai Ji Men case, Taiwan Supreme Court found Tai Ji Men not guilty of tax evasion or any other charges. The National Tax Bureau and the Ministry of Finance reneged on the promise to revoke the tax bill. The National Tax Bureau illegally auctioned off the sacred land of Tai Ji Men. The land was illegally taken into state ownership. Officials' conscience, where are justice and human rights? What's is the truth about the Tai Ji Men case? Taiwan Supreme Court found Tai Ji Men guilty of tax evasion or any other charges. The National Tax Bureau and the Ministry of Finance reneged on their promise to refund the tax bill. The National Tax Bureau illegally auctioned off the sacred land of Tai Ji Men. The land was illegally taken into state ownership. Where is the real government officials' conscience? Where are justice and human rights? What is the truth about the Tai Ji Men case? Taiwan Supreme Court found Tai Ji Men guilty of tax evasion or any other charges. The National Tax Bureau and the Ministry of Finance reneged on their promise to refund the tax bill. The National Tax Bureau illegally auctioned off the sacred land of Tai Ji Men. The land was illegally taken into state ownership. Where is the real government officials' conscience? Where are justice and human rights? The righteous people are united with conscience.